And tonight we have a very interesting seminar. It's called The Medium and the Message by Dr. Sorin Petrof, who is the Communication and Media Director for the South England Conference. He's worked for the South England Conference for 17 years. The South England Conference is the largest conference within the TED of, I heard yesterday, almost 27,000 members. And that's actually a third of the Trans-European Division membership. So Sorin has served in a multiplicity of disciplines, but he's been a lecturer, a researcher, a minister, a public speaker, has been a pastor in the South England Conference, in addition to his role, or prior to his role as Communication and Media Director, and has earned a PhD in Communication and Media, which he may share something about this through his topic.
Okay, so let's start from the beginning. Thank you very much, David, for the invitation to participate in this series of webinars. Good evening, everyone, or good morning, depending on what time zone are you experiencing right now. I would like to share the screen to get straight to the topic, which, as David already said, it's called Medium is the Message, Possibilities and Limits in Digital Communications. Now, the purpose for this should I call it not lecture, but presentation, is to familiarize ourselves, or maybe refamiliarize with some concept in communication. Because we are communication people, we need to operate with some concepts. And the one that I am presenting this evening, it's this medium is the message, a very important concept that we can use it in our understanding of how to transmit a message, how the media it's transforming the landscape around us, that not only around us, even more than that, it's transforming ourselves, and we will see immediately. So let me start by, let's say, like a spoiler, if you want. This is a Time magazine cover from September 22, 2014. This is like almost 9 years ago. And it was as a reaction to what Apple already at that time launched the Apple Watch. And the author of the article, the lead article, Lev Grossman and Matt Vela, he said, I mean, that's the subtitle of the subheading of the main title. The Apple Watch is just the start. How wearable tech will change your life, like it or not. Now I'm going back to this cover, and the article, by the way, it's a very insightful one, and I fully recommend it to you. You can find it, just Google it, never offline, and Lev Grossman. The article that Lev Grossman wrote that in that 2013 cover edition of the Time magazine, apparently it seems like being prophetic, because indeed something happened since then in terms of how do we interact with these technological products and how they transform our minds, really. So another spoiler, it's about what Marshall McLuhan said in 1964. All technologies are extensions of our physical and nervous system to increase power and speed. Any extension, whatever of skin, hand, or foot, affects the whole psyche and social complex. And as an example, you know, the wheel extends our feet, the phone extends our voice, television extends our eyes and ears, the computer extends our brain, and electronic media in general extend our central nervous system. So this main idea I would like to discuss in this evening, how the technology transform not only the medium that we are using for communicating a message, but the message itself is transformed by that very medium. And this is very important to be aware of, because the technological leap is quite incredible in these days. So the next one is about a very recent product that was launched by Apple again. So keep in mind that in 2014 it was the Apple Watch, okay, which was quite interesting, but from Lev's Grossman perspective, was quite intrusive because it's quite attached to our body. Whereas the iPhone, we can keep it in a pocket, or an iPad, you know, in a purse or whatever, in a briefcase. But Apple Watch, he said in 2013, is the first thing that it's attached to our body. A small device, you know, I wear it myself. It's quite useful. But he said it's a bit intrusive. Now, there's a next level, we can say. We are 2023 right now, okay? And the Apple Vision Pro was announced last month as a worldwide developers conference of 2023. Now, it's Apple's first wearable headset device, which offers like an, let's say, mixed reality experience. Its price will be priced to around starting with $3,500 and will be launched in early 2024. Now, which is quite interesting because, however, it wasn't advertised as such, as a wearable headset. What Apple announced, though, was a new computer. It's a wearable headset, right, that projects digital output directly in your eyes. So rather than control it with a keyboard, actually you don't need a keyboard, you don't need a mouse, you don't need a touch screen, you don't need those you know, joysticks like Meta developed or other sets as well. No, the computer sense that you are interested in interacting with what you are watching, you know, and following your eyes movement, and then looks at your hand to determine what you want to do. So actually, you as a user, it's by eye tracking and gesture that you are control this, as I said, it's new computer. And they term this new device as a spatial computer. And the name is apt because the device can use any physical space around you as a canvas if you want to display digital outputs. And you can see for yourself if you are going to the Apple website, the American store, not or any other country, just America. So as a bottom line, Vision Pro, it's a new computer that is worn on your face, okay? The computer's outset is projected directly into your eyes. You control the computer with eye tracking and gestures. And Vision Pro is a spatial computing system that can transform any physical environment into an interactive digital display. So as you can see here in the advertisement, we are ready. How Vision Pro will change the world around you. So this is like an, let's say, object lesson for our topic, because it clearly designates how far the technology is going and how it will affect really the way we are seeing the world, interacting with ourselves and with each other. The proposed topic will be approached from the communication and information technology perspective, because as I said, we are in the communication webinar and we are communication people, and we need to understand this from this particular perspective, using the communication process model as a hermeneutical tool. And as you are aware of, This is the most basic communication model that we have so far. And just a few words about this. We have the source, which, let's say, to be more clearly, let's say I'm the source right now, okay? And you are the receiver. And I transmit a message using this medium, which is on not only the Zoom as a platform, but internet as well, and the computer as well. These are the medium, okay? And this message, you know, is transmitted to you. It was encoded the way I fit, you know, the way I see it, it fit for this purpose, and will be decoded by yourself. Maybe I hope the same way I try to encode it, maybe in a different way, but that will be mostly because, first of all, there is a certain platform, a certain medium that we are using, and that will affect my delivery of the message and your receiving the message. But there's other factors as well, as you can see in this on display, the noise, which could be external, you know, technical problems that we, let's say at the beginning, we had a little bit, environmental influences, semantic eligibility, print versus screen, or even if someone is forgetting to mute the mic, that could be called external noise. But internal noise is at work as well, which is feelings, let's say, inadequacy, language barrier, because we translate in Italian right now, and I'm sure it's our translation it's very good, but somehow, you know, something will be lost in the translation always. Physical problems could be misunderstandings and so on. So those the so-called noise, either external or internal, contributing a lot to how you receive the message. And then after you receive the message and decode that message, you will give a feedback, either consciously or not consciously, but you're going to get feedback. Will be emotional, verbal, body language, which is hard to spot if we are in a Zoom meeting and you have the camera switch off. So I have no idea what feedback is from you, okay? Or could be mechanical, social networking, survey, and so on. So this is the basic communication model that we need to have in mind when we are discussing the transmission of a message. And then how to translate this with this concept of medium is the message. Before going to that concept, let's define what digital communications are. So a specific type of communications that is facilitated and mediated via technology in organizations, educational institutions, media outlets, training facilities, etc. Digital communication might also occur when an organization or person uses digital tools to spread news, entertainment, or information about a product or brand. So that's a broad, very broad definition of what digital communication is. But if you want to be, you know, if you want to be more precise, we can go further on and we can enlist types of digital communication. I know you are aware of those types of digital communications, but for the sake of the, let's say, the argument and the structure of this presentation, I'm gonna, you know, read to you. It'll be easier to read than to reformulate in my own words, because we have time pressure on us. So email, it's a type of digital communication. Electronic mail allows user to send and receive messages, documents, and files over the internet. It is widely used for both personal and professional communication. Instant messaging, platforms enable real-time text-based conversation between individuals or groups. Popular examples include WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, Slack, and there are many others, but it's enough. We have also voice over IP. This technology allows for voice communication over the internet, often replacing traditional phone systems. So we have services like Skype, Google Voice, and Zoom provide voice and video communication capabilities. Also, video conferencing. Video conferencing platforms allow people in different locations, like we are right now, to have virtual face-to-face meetings. Applications such as Zoom, Microsoft Teams, and Cisco WebEx are commonly used for this purpose. And as you were well aware, since the pandemic, they are skyrocketing in terms of use. Social media platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and many others facilitates communication, information sharing, and networking among users through posts, comments, and direct messaging. Online chats, like these services, provide real-time text-based communication. They are commonly used for customer support, live chat or website, or casual conversation. Examples includes live chat, intercom, and Ladensk chat. Also, we have collaborations tools like Google Docs, Microsoft Office 365, and Trello enable multiple users to work together on documents, spreadsheets, and projects, often including features for real-time communication and comments. Blogs, podcasts, creating and sharing content in a blog or podcast format allows one-to-many digital communication. Comments and discussion forums build engagement, as you know. And the last, discussion forums, online discussion forums, also known as message boards and bulletin boards, allow users to post messages, ask questions, and engage in conversation on specific topics of interest. Examples include Reddit, Quora, and Stack Exchange. File sharing services such as Dropbox, Google Drive, and OneDrive enable users to upload, store, and share files with others over the internet. They often include collaboration features and sharing permissions. Mobile messaging apps like WhatsApp, Signal, and Telegram provide text messaging, voice calling, video calling, and multimedia sharing capabilities over mobile devices. And review sites. User can post reviews of products, businesses on sites like Yelp or TripAdvisor, enabling digital communication of opinions. So this is the most, let's say, important types of digital communication that we are using already, we are aware of, and about this type of communication, digital communication, we are talking now when we discuss about the opportunities and limits when using this type of digital communications. Let's state the problem, because in any presentation that we are trying to come with an argument and to solve a specific query, we must define first the problem. And the problem, I would say, it's quite well put by, again, the same Marshall McLuhan, when he said that we shape our tools and thereafter our tools shape us. Also, it's quite an interesting statement made by Yuval Harari when he said that people, individuals, humans are very good at inventing tools, but not so good of managing them. And the history, he said, it's quite a proven record that we are not quite good of managing what we are inventing. But in the words of Marshall McLuhan, it's quite clear what he is trying to convey in his message. We shape our tools, and thereafter our tools shape us. It's somehow implying an almost like an organic relationship between our tools and ourselves. So it's not like we are completely detached by the results of our product, of our work. No, something is happening in this process. And this concept was not only by Marshall McLuhan observed and commented on, but by many other analysts. A brief about Marshall McLuhan. He was a Canadian philosopher and communication theorist, 1911 and 1980. He's known for coining the phrase, the medium is the message, and proposing that the medium through which information is transmitted affects how people perceive and understand that information. He theorized that the new communication technologies such as radio, television, and computers were profoundly transforming society, but by shaping human consciousness and perception. McLuhan divided history into 4 periods defined by the dominant communication medium: oral tribe culture, manuscript culture, print culture, and electronic culture. He suggested that electronic media was creating a global village. Actually, he coined this term, global village. Overall, McLuhan highlighted the relationship between forms of communications and social organization, and how technologies extend human capacities and transform interactions. He remains a noteworthy figure in media studies. But let's turn now to the core of this presentation and the concept that was produced by McLuhan, and to understand the context of this saying, medium is the message. So I am reading from his main study, Understanding Media, the Extensions of Man, published in 1964. In a culture like ours, long accustomed to splitting and dividing all things as a means of control, it is something as a bit of a shock to be reminded that in operational and practical fact, the medium is the message. This is merely to say that the personal and social consequences of any medium, that is, of any extension of ourselves, result from the new scale that is introduced into our affairs by each extension of ourselves or by any new technology. Apparently, it seems a little bit cryptic and specialized probably for the media studies, discipline, but actually is not, is more practical than that. And this is why I am going to give you some examples. So the concepts is, I would say, it's straightforward. The medium, it's as defined by Marshall McLuhan, is any given media or technology that behaves as an extension for our bodies and minds. And the message, not just the content of communication. You remember in the beginning in when I displayed the communication model process, right? I said, I'm delivering you a message right now. Yeah, it's more than that. Not just the content of communication, but the changes that it affects and introduces. The question, who introduces and affects that changes? The message or the medium? We're gonna respond to this question, but now let me give you some examples to understand how this is applying, how the medium is changing the message. Email versus handwritten letters. Some of us, we are still from that golden age when we were writing letters, right? With this speed and brevity, the medium of email shapes the type of messages sent. Handwritten letters sent through the postal system are longer, more thoughtful, and more personal. And this is actually the medium affects the message. Social media posts, platform like Twitter, which its character limits lead to short, concise messages. So this is why you have a different way or expressing using Twitter. using emojis, using contraction and so on, because you are limited, and that will transform your communication. Instagram, which is focused on visuals, leads to more image-based content. And if you have an Instagram account, that it's actually it's only pictures, really, with brief descriptions or whatever, advertising or brand presentation and so on. So the medium shapes the message. E-books versus print books. Some argue, I'm not completely convinced by this argument, but some argue that reading on screens leads to more skimming and less in-depth thinking than reading print. Well, it's arguable, but let's follow the argument. The medium, screen versus print, affects reading depth and absorption. Could be true or not necessarily, but something is different, in those two types of mediums. And the second part of this example, streaming versus movie theaters. I don't know when was the last time when you visited a movie theater? Watching movies at home facilitates multitasking and distraction. The movie theater medium demands full attention and leads to deeper engagement. And you know that in a movie theater, you are supposed to behave in a certain way. Whereas in the comfort of your home, you can watch the same movie, but, feeling free to eat or to, stay dressed as you like, or lying on a couch or whatever. Podcast versus music. Podcasts allow listeners to get news, ideas, and conversations conveniently. This facilitates bite-sized learning. Music immersion leads to different effects. The medium shapes the depth of engagement. And finally, smartphones, the always connected smartphone medium, encourages constant real-time sharing of bits of text, images, and video. This shapes the way we communicate and think. We can discuss even more, but we don't have time, and it's so obvious that I don't think we need an extra explanations of these examples versus with one medium toward another one. But that's the most simple way to explain what McLuhan understood when he said the medium is the message. Something is happening when you change the medium. Now, let's go to one of very interesting, we call it the McLuhan tetrad, because each new technology or extension of ourselves, there are 4 possible effects. Intensifies or enhances something in the world. Second, makes something else obsolete. The third, retrieves some attribute of the past. And the last, at its extreme, reverse into a caricature of itself. So as it stands like this, in 4 possible affirmations, it doesn't say much, but if we are going to employ some examples and we understand what's going on. And this is a very pertinent example because we are experiencing right now, the Zoom. What does it enlarge or enhance? Well, as you know, Zoom extends our ability to speak and see one another across distance, almost instantaneous, okay? So it doesn't matter if we are here or in Italy or in States or in Brazil. It's at some points, doesn't matter what time zones are we in. We are right now in the same space, okay? So this is like the first thesis of his tetrad. It's enlarge and enhance something. It's an extension for ourselves, right? The second, what does it erode, amputate, or make obsolete? Well, Zoom decreases the frequency of travel, the demand for physical centralized workspaces, and access to social and behavioral cues. It's obvious, we know that. It was quite at hand during the pandemic, and it's still at hand right now. As an example, my son works with HSBC, and they still have only 2 days per week at the office. The rest will be at home over the Zoom. But I like because something amputates, you right? Erodes, amputate, make obsolete. The last one, the behavioral cues. In a Zoom meeting or what other platform we are using, we are not able to, let's say, decode what the other one is transmitting, you know, when you have a conversation. Because right now I can see at you, I can see some of you, I'm not quite sure if I can read the, I don't know, boredom or interest, or some of you which you have a camera switch off. Maybe you prepare dinner right now. I wouldn't know, okay? And it's fine. I don't have nothing against that. But this is the idea that I cannot read those cues, behavioral cues. And Zoom did erode that once we are involved in such type of communication. Because in a face-to-face communication, you know, physical communication, our brain, it's let's say fit to read almost perfect what the other one is thinking or transmitting or implying and so on. But a digital medium will affect that. Not of effect, will erode that. Even more, could amputate that. And we don't know what's going on in a Zoom meeting, really. Now, the third one, sorry, it's going too fast. I don't know. Maybe it's trying to signal that I need to finish. What does it retrieve that had been lost? Well, Zoom allows us at the personal level, not the business one, to revive neglected relationships with those who have lost touch and retrieves the necessity for physical appearance, which is a paradox because, yes, I'm glad that I can connect with my friends that are overseas, but in the same times, it increased my desire to see them physically, not just, let's say, digitally, right? What does the last one reverse when it's overused? You are well aware of the so-called Zoom fatigue. Many are feeling drained after multiple Zoom calls. And actually, this is a scientific study on this. More so than face-to-face conversation, defeating actually the purpose of the communication, right? What are the emergent forms of digital communication right now? Augmented reality overlays digital information and visuals into the real world via smartphone cameras, enables new modes of digital communication and engagement. Examples include Snapchat filters, Pokemon Go. Did you play Pokemon Go, by the way? That was AR. IKEA Place app. Virtual reality, fully immersive digital environments accessed through headsets. Allows for lifelike digital communication and shared experience. Video conferencing is a VR in an emerging trend. AI chatbots powered by artificial intelligence can offer personalized conversation, recommendation, and services. They enable natural language, digital communication between humans and machines. Examples, you know already, ChatGPT, Claude 2, and Google Bard. Collaborative virtual spaces, platforms like Spatial and Mozilla Hubs allow users to create virtual environments where they can interact, collaborate, and communicate with others using avatars, voice, and text chats. And Internet of Things, connected devices enable digital communication between everyday objects and systems, transmitting data and allowing remote control. Let me give you a brief case study how this affects the technology and the medium and so on. A first-year orthopedic surgery resident is called to assess an accident. She relays her assessment, pictures of the limb and the patient's X-rays to her supervisor via a WhatsApp group. She receives guidance instantly. While caring for the patient and recording the messages, her supervisors call in a surgery team. Other residents ask to see the photos of the limb and the patient's X-rays, and the residents share them on their resident WhatsApp group. She includes the images of the patient's limb and X-ray, and she had on her phone. The post was spread widely on social media and viewed several thousand times by people worldwide. The resident was evaluated on her role in the patient's care. These assessments and reflections were stored in an institutional e-portfolio that helped her and her program track the progress. Unfortunately, the patient did not have a good clinical outcome and filed a lawsuit against the hospital and clinical team involved in her care. Why? Let's see the pros and cons for this type of approach. First, enhance efficiency, as you can see, very fast. Digital communication replacing face-to-face interaction. Now you can access them and you don't need to be there. They can access you via, internet and so on. But there are concerns regarding the security and privacy of patient information in clinical context. Expanded access and disseminations of valuable teaching information, because more of them were involved in that process, right? Ensuring the quality of educational content, concerns, again, with the digital sharing of patient information beyond the content of the clinical encounter. New approaches in how assessments are done, not the traditional way, but now this is a very modern way. Now, change in how assessment data are utilized. And the last, again, concerns about the security and privacy of assessment data and the potential unintended use. Going back to where we started with Apple Vision Pro, the vision of the future might not be exactly the one that Apple is trying to sell us with its new headset, but I don't think it's far off. The Vision Pro is a 3,500 screen for one person, you and you only. Maybe it's the future of the iPhone. Maybe it will usher in a blissful utopia where we can all tune into our surroundings as much or as little as we would like to be. Maybe it's a really expensive way to look down in the comfort of your own home. But I think there is one thing that's for sure. It looks lonely as hell. This is Alison Johnson, The Verge. Please read her review. It's quite interesting. So, this is the latest modern top-notch technology that Apple has produced so far. And it's way better than any other competition that in terms of, because they advertise like, you are not completely cut off from your environment because you can see through those goggles. You can see if you want to see at some point. But still, in every advertisement and everything that so far they produced in terms of how we're going to present the product, it is exactly what Alison Johnson says. It looks lonely, disconnecting you, although with a promise of being even more connected than before. Conclusion. It's time for conclusion. The medium is the message. That concept emphasizes the inner dynamics of technology in creating a field of constraints and possibilities. There is a technological paradox that results in both extending and amputating our capabilities when using any digital medium. It doesn't matter. It could be just an email or Apple provision. It's somehow the same, although it's not the same effect, but something it's the same. We produce certain technologies which in turn change us. Most of us, and this is a reality, understands the opportunities much more than the limits, which we tend to miss or ignore. And we need to be critically and digitally literate, sharp, and informed. So the idea is that we as the communication people, we are trying to use every medium possible to share the good news of salvation or any other communication that we think is fit for our purpose. And we need to do so. We cannot stay behind. We cannot say, well, this is too complicated or it's too, it's not quite clear cut. Maybe we should not use it. But the idea is to be aware that whenever we use a certain technology or a certain medium, our message could be just an internal communication or could be the spreading of gospel. Somehow will be changed by that particular medium, would be changed, not just affected, it just affected. Now it is fancy with bright colors and with videos and so on. No, this is not just, it's more than that. It's almost affected, okay? And we must be aware of that before we craft that message. We encode it in a certain way, and then we use a certain medium for that particular purpose. Let me finish now with a bonus, because Marshall McLuhan was quite a religious person, a devout Roman Catholic, and he said in another book, in Jesus Christ, there is no distance or separation between the medium and the message. It is the only case where we can say that the medium and the message are fully one and the same. In fact, it is only at that level of a lived Christianity that the medium really is the message. You have here the references if you are interested to further explore, and thank you very much for your attention and participation.
Sorin, Dr. Petrov, thank you. That's an amazing presentation, which has just blown my head in to ask many, many questions about where the tensions that we're dealing with, the blessings and the curses almost. So I want to home in on one of your central themes about the digital church. Here we are, on the one hand, wanting to expand the gospel to go as far as possible and as easily as possible to as many people as possible, and create communities. And we saw it happen during COVID, and you and I know that some of those COVID communities are still meeting for Sabbath school and for church today. But what's the there is a tension here about the need to meet up in person. Can you elaborate on that further?
Well,
that's right at the heart of where we're at.
Yes, in my preaching appointments that I had in the SEC, I've discovered this interesting phenomenon. Mostly in almost in all churches that I visited so far, there is the live service, the in-person physical service, but there are still people, they are connected via Zoom to the divine service. Well, I understand the reasons. I never judged why some people might not come to church. But what I've noticed from those who were in the physical service is that very platform, the very medium, which is Zoom, somehow enhanced even more their desire to meet the persons that are on Zoom in a physical way. You see? So they were happy that they were there in a digital way, but somehow this increased even more the desire to, I want to see them here, or I want to go to visit them because I miss that physical interaction. So yes, I do believe that a digital, let's say, church makes sense in our times, and we should not, bin this idea because it doesn't it doesn't involve the physical interaction. But if I'm going to advertise, let's say, a digital church, is just to somehow like an how should I put it, like a trap in terms of trying to to increase the desire for a physical interaction. All right, if that makes sense. So look, yes, we're gonna have a digital church. You have this type of digital interaction, but look, the best way is the other way, this way, and we can develop that into a more, personal, let's say, physical interaction that we need, because in the end, and it is already scientifically proven, is just a truism what I say, that human is a social being, and we are earning, we are so eager for this physical interaction. Okay, so yeah, we need to use these mediums, these platforms, absolutely, but somehow we need to be aware of the opportunities and limitations, and how to, let's say, speculate, if you want. If I don't think it's the right term, but I have now not other terms in my mind right now to speculate this yearning for a real interaction, a genuine physical interaction, paradoxically, by using the digital platforms. I hope that makes sense.
Okay, thank you. Got two more quick questions coming in before we finish tonight, but let's talk about the technology we're using and how it's changing us. You said we shape our tools and the tools shape us. So knowing that, you're a communication director, how do you tell the message accordingly? Are there messages and practices that we should avoid because of the negative consequences and moral implications? You understand what we're saying here? Can you give examples of new technologies that we should be very cautious about, and yet other technologies we say, yep, this can be really useful and really effective for what we want to do?
Well, right now, I mean, probably we already published in the new edition of the Communicator magazine about AI and the role of and the relationship between the church and the technology. And right now, it's quite a buzz, the whole AI idea and the AI chatbots. We already are using ChatGPT, and by the way, Sam Neves, my colleague from SEC and now it's the GC, wrote a very interesting piece on our communication, how to prepare a sermon using a ChatGPT and the other likes of artificial intelligence. We're using that, absolutely, but we must be aware of the limitations. Although it's so powerful, the engine itself, the learning machine and everything, it's so powerful in many ways. And as we know, these chat GPTs and the likes, they are not connected to the internet. Okay, they are just fed with information, tons, if you want, of information, but they are not connected to the internet, because that would be actually, at this point, will be a mess from many other reasons, which we don't have time to develop right now. But the idea is that we use these technologies with caution. So yes, someone asked me, should I use ChatGPT or other alternatives programs? Yes, you can use, absolutely, but be aware that the information given might not be the correct one, could be a bias. I tried that. Very interesting. Briefly, I choose a text from Paul about, I do not allow women to teach in a church. I was so curious how an AI would develop this topic. And it was a nice reflection on this topic, very, very balanced, not theologically quite accurate, but socially, it was in the same, let's say, the same idea, the broad idea that men and women are equal and so on. And I sense some biases in that reflection, because at the end of the day, he is fed with what we humans have provided so far, what produced so far. It's actually our own way of thinking and understanding the world. This is the brute material that an AI is working with. right? So he is not at an AI, it's inventing something new out of thin air. It's using what we humans have produced so far. So yes, it's biased. It's very fast, by the way. In 2 minutes, no, not 2 minutes. It's under a minute. You have a sermon. Okay, I'm not gonna use for a sermon because I don't think it's correct, it's right, it's honest, and so on. I can use it for research purposes, but it's very good. So yes, some technologies should be treated with caution. Others, they are already proven so far, but every one of them, as we seen in this presentation, had these limitations and opportunities embedded in it.
Okay. So I just want to just expand just on that a little bit. So can we be a value-driven society, or are we doomed to be a data-driven society?
Well, at that point, I mean, this is how the Yuval Harari is postulating in his one of the last, not last, yeah, probably the Homo Deus in the last book on that, let's say, trilogy, that this is the trend. This is the trend, and toward data. And right now, what we need, he said, is not more information, but to be more, we need more clarification, to be aware that we are flooded with so much information, but not every that information is either useful, but even could be quite toxic. So yes, this is a trend, unfortunately, throughout the data. And everything, even go back to the Vision Pro, Apple Vision Pro. How do we explain that, we can move, we can move the objects in our eyes, all right, with just our own eyes, really, because it's reading everything on our face. It's like a scan. It's doing a scan on our face, reading our eyes, let's say, and the gestures in our hands, and then translate this in something. Okay, so we are even more data for these machines than were before, because we are the product. The human being is the product.
Okay, and as we wrap up, just want to leave this thought, and you may want to comment briefly. If the medium is the message indeed, as it was mentioned, as you mentioned, then in some areas we're doing it well. But in others, our message is as obsolete as the medium used for it. And the writer, the writer of this message, says thank you for the wake-up call.
Okay, yes, and I agree with the author of these thoughts, because indeed, well, there are many reasons why our message, so some parts of our message, the overall message, could become obsolete. There could be many reasons, but one of them, it's, let's say, technological. That's for sure. And at least if we can fix that, would be an plus. And I think that we can fix at least the technological part of how we craft a message. But there are other reasons as well, and we don't have now neither the time nor the forum for discussion, the other possible reasons. But yes, I agree completely with that.
Well, Sorin, thank you for opening this conversation tonight. It's a massive conversation to have. And I think and know that we're going to be talking about this conversation big time, this particular area of this ministry at GAIN from the 20th to the 24th of October. I want to just recognize our friend, Paolo Macedo, who is hosting GAIN with us. And this has to be a dominant theme throughout GAIN. And I want to thank you for the work you've put into trying to work through. I think I heard you say, embrace with discernment. Is that what I heard?
Myself?
Yeah, is that what I heard, Sorin? Embrace, be positive about it, but be discerning as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, sir. Yeah, cautious. Yes, as well. In the same time. Yeah, absolutely. Sure.
So thank
Thank you very
everybody.
much for the occasion, for the opportunity. Thank you.
You're very welcome, and we appreciate what you've shared and the research you've taken to note that. I remember one lady in during COVID. She was on her own. She was quite elderly, and she was surviving just because of Zoom, but at the same time, the human contact she was desperate for, absolutely desperate. And so there were some difficult times there. So in all of this digital communication, the need to embrace, the need to touch, the need to share, the need to see, and to understand the body language messages that you pointed out.
Exactly.
That there is
just like a final anecdote.
Sure.
I've seen that, honestly. It's quite. Anyway, a presenter was doing an a prayer meeting on the Zoom, and you know how Zoom is. You know how you present a sermon. You cannot like a pulpit presentation. It's on Zoom, right, in front of a computer. And because at the end the mic, one of the participants' mic wasn't switched on, it was heard, awful speaker, some good ideas. So yeah, so that's what's happening in a platform, a digital platform. Okay, so we must be aware of that.
Thank you so much, Sorin, and blessed by your ministry.
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming this evening. As you know, this is recorded and will be put up online later once it's been processed. Coming up, our next seminar is not in August, it's in September. August is holiday month for some. And on the Tuesday, the 26th of September, Lauren Sazaz, I know I've got that pronunciation wrong, but that's what happens when you're English. SZASZ, Lauren Sazaz, will add content, multiply results. That's the theme of his lecture. Add content, multiply results. Have a good week and enjoy life with the Lord. Thank you. God bless. Thanks for coming. Bye-bye.